I'm Indigo Park, 31, indie game developer, perpetual night owl, and the kind of person who wears noise-canceling headphones like a crown. Austin in Expo season is a neon pressure cooker. Every coffee shop turns into a pitch deck arena, and the humidity clings to your skin like a second shirt. It's loud, hopeful, and full of lies that sound like dreams. My studio is my one-bedroom apartment in East Austin, where the cicadas never clock out. I built my game, Chiaroscuro, out of insomnia and stubbornness. It's a third-person puzzle adventure about light, shadow, and the stories we hide to survive. I wrote the rendering pipeline myself, stitched a handmade shader that turns shadows into explorable memories, and baked in a music system that reacts to the player's breathing. It feels like a secret I taught to sing. I went by Cerulean Finch LLC publicly, a buffer between me and a world that likes to chew up creators. I had a tiny Discord, a handful of Patreon supporters, and a closed beta I emailed to exactly 12 people, all of them under NDA. Press wanted a reveal trailer at the expo in 2 weeks. I said yes, then immediately regretted saying yes, because that's how anxiety and ambition hold hands. The night everything went sideways, the air smelled like the first burn of a soldering iron. I pushed a private build, 0.9.0-indigo, to my testers at 2:17 a.m., then closed my eyes and listened to the apartment hum. My cat, Pixel, made biscuits against my hoodie. In the quiet, my brain finally exhaled. At 9:06 a.m., my phone exploded with Slack pings, then texts, then a call from a friend who didn't say hello, just, "Indigo, are you seeing this?" I opened Twitter. There he was, Nova Blake, the influencer with the kind of smile that says he's already forgiven you for disagreeing. 1 million+ subscribers, perfect lighting, a voice calibrated for confessionals. He'd just posted a video. I found the prettiest secret game. No one's talking about this. Thumbnails showed my lighthouse level, my particle-rich fog, my shadow as memory mechanic. My heart didn't drop. It detonated. I clicked. Nova's camera framed him like a pastor ready to sell salvation. He loaded my build. He knew the debug commands. He wove through the lighthouse catwalks with my exact dev shortcuts. "Guys, look at this," he said, laughing. "I don't even know who made it, no credits yet. But it's genius. I'm calling it chiaroscuro because of the lighting, but we don't know the dev. Found it in a forum dump, sucked into my inbox at 3 a.m. Blessing from the algorithm, I guess." He wasn't just playing, he was owning it. Comments blurred by, "This is gorgeous. Nova discovered another gem. Publish it already. Tag the dev. He always surfaces the wildest stuff." I rewound the footage, frame by frame. At timestamp 3:22, he opened the hidden menu, my ghost console, a dormant dev UI I bound to tilde because I'm a cliché. He typed "Lightwalk true." That wasn't public. That was buried. He also accessed a broken vignette camera, sin_M1, a shortcut I'd only mentioned in a locked Discord channel. My chest felt too tight to rise. My hands shook, and the cursor on my trackpad became a hummingbird I couldn't catch. "I sent 12 keys," I whispered. Pixel blinked at me, unimpressed by Betrayal. The DMs rolled in. Testers swore they didn't leak. One never even downloaded. Another sent screenshots showing the file hash intact on their machine. One apologized for being asleep. Sleep. I barely remembered what that was. At 10:41 a.m., Nova tweeted again, a cheeky clip of the shadow mechanic, cropped to slice out my build number in the corner. He added a winky face, then a thread of philosophy of light, quotes that sounded suspiciously like the design doc I wrote last September. He'd paraphrased me into content. Press emails hit my inbox like hailstones. Nova's new discovery. Do you know the developer? Would love to feature them. Can we get comment on their find? Who is behind this mysterious prototype? I answered nothing. My throat ate every word before it reached my teeth. Inside, something roared, but outside, I posted a quiet, careful tweet. Hi, this looks like my game. Please don't share leaked builds. Official info soon. It got 5 likes in 3 minutes. Nova replied with a heart, then a laughing emoji, then nothing. By noon, he'd gone live. Hundreds of thousands watched him clip past bugs I'd left for myself like puzzle pieces. He played through the lighthouse, found my memory 7, Polaroid of my mother Q, and turned it into a joke about nostalgia filters. He mispronounced chiaroscuro like chiaroscuro, and his chat loved it. I wanted to throw up. I also wanted to break. Out loud, on camera, into the kind of tornado thread that gets bookmarked for all the wrong reasons. But if there's one thing the internet teaches you early, it's that timing is a weapon. I scrolled to the part where he pulled up my shader graph. He used the same sequence of clicks I do when I'm tired. Open shade / umbra, graph, toggle depth pass, reset. It wasn't random. Someone had coached him. I went back to my build pipeline and checked the access log. 12 keys, 12 IPS, all accounted for. Except a 13th handshake from an address that hopped like a frog across a VPN marsh. Sweden to Arizona to nowhere. Download time, 3:03 a.m. Nova posted at 9 a.m. Plenty of time to record, edit, schedule. I stared at the string of characters like they might apologize. They didn't. At 2:12 p.m., a DM flashed from an account with a verified check and a manager's smile built into the bio. Hey Indigo, Nova absolutely wants to support the creator. If you're the dev, send us your creds and a proof build. We'd love to co-announce at the expo. Mutual uplift : co-announce? Co-announce? Like my game was a collab he'd stumbled into while conveniently filming content? I typed and deleted. Typed again. Deleted harder. My hand kept tugging at my curls. The elasticity of hair felt real when my inbox felt fake. My stomach tightened into a coin purse. I opened my old proof stack, a paranoid folder I kept since my first jam. Timestamps, Git logs, Figma history, Notion pages, a camera pointed at a whiteboard for months of time-lapse. I didn't know who I'd need to prove myself to, but I'd practiced anyway. To investors, to peers, to myself. At 3:37 p.m., the first article landed. Nova Blake reveals secret masterpiece. Chiaroscuro is the art game of the year. They used screenshots ripped from his video, compression smears and all. The article called him a curator of taste. It called the developer a whisper. A whisper. I could feel the word trying to stick to me like mud. I could also feel the sting under it, like lemon juice in a cut. The cut wasn't new. In college, a professor called my work girlishly intuitive. At my first studio job, a lead put my shader fix into his commit and said, "We solved it." I learned to lower my voice on calls. I learned to let my name slide off credit sheets like it wasn't taped on hard enough. But this was robbery with applause. I slammed my laptop shut and paced. The space between my kitchen and my sofa is exactly 10 indigo steps. On step 7, the tears arrived. I don't cry pretty. It's a messy, hiccuping thing that makes my nose do a boomerang. Pixel watched, bored but loyal, kneading the couch like he was buffering. When I finally scraped myself off the floor, my cheeks sticky with salt, my hands were steady. Anger can be a metronome when you need it. I don't want money, I said to the plant on my windowsill. I want my name. The plant did not disagree. I reopened my laptop and pulled up my engine recorder. If Nova wanted a story, I'd give the world the whole movie. Not drama. Receipts. I wrote a plan on a yellow sticky note because drama loves paper. A play-along series, building chiaroscuro. Each episode, I'd walk through a mechanic and show the commit history, the early prototypes, the fail reels. I'd screen cap my Git logs, overlay timestamps from the first shader scribbles, pull up my OBS time-lapse of that night in March, when the memory system stopped stuttering at 2:53 a.m., and I ate cold mapo tofu in victory. I'd narrate in my own voice, quiet, certain. I dragged episode 1 into a folder. Light walk, from ugly to O. Outline, show the first paper prototype, then the Unity gag build, then the custom engine leap. Cut to shader tree. Fade to my scribbled sketchbook with the blocked lighthouse silhouette. End with a side-by-side of Nova's clip and the commit log predating his birth as a brand. My mouse hovered over OBS record. Just record. I hesitated. A part of me wanted to disappear again because anonymity feels safe until you choke on it. Another part wanted to burn it all down. The doorbell rang. I wasn't expecting anyone. On the mat sat a padded envelope, no return address, thin and precise, like someone who wanted to be recognized but not found. Inside, a USB drive. No note, just the drive, matte black, with a tiny silver finch engraved on the side. My heart counted to 3 before my brain did. Cerulean Finch, my LLC. The engraving match was impossible. Except it wasn't. I plugged it in with the kind of caution you reserve for snakes and old friends. A single folder popped up. We both know. Inside, screen recordings of a Discord called Curators United. Nova's voice, his team. A mod with the neon handle at KITERUNNER, bragging about pulling a dev build through a tester who wanted clout. Chat logs where they discussed framing it as a discovery and keeping the dev ghostly so the narrative plays. A PDF labeled co-announce deck. My hands went cold. My cheeks went hot. That cocktail only happens when you're about to do something you can't undo. I clicked on the last file, an audio clip. Nova's voice again, lower, not for public consumption. Don't tag the dev yet. If we name them first, they get mad. If they come forward after we bless them, they'll kiss the ring. The apartment felt smaller, like the walls had taken a step closer. Pixel's tail thumped once as if to say, now what? My phone buzzed with a new DM from an account with a default avatar and a name that looked like a keyboard fell asleep. Owl_terminus. I know what they did to you. I saved the raw files. If you go public, I'll go with you. I leaned back in my chair and stared at the ceiling, feeling the anger smooth into something sharper. Not a scream, a scalpel. Okay, I said to no one and everyone, let's make a show. I hit record. The record light glowed red, like a challenge. OBS caught the tremor in my first breath, but by the second take, my voice steadied. Hey, I said, looking into the webcam. My name's Indigo Park. I'm the developer of chiaroscuro. It felt strange to say my name out loud, like I was finally pulling it out from under the rug I'd let other people walk across. I want to show you how this game was built, I continued. From sketches, from code, from mistakes. This isn't a leak. This is the truth. I dragged my sketchbook into frame. Coffee stains, graphite smudges, the ugly lighthouse scribbles that would never trend on Twitter. Then I layered in the Git logs. Commits from 2 years ago. Timestamped, messy, mine. Receipts don't lie, I whispered under the narration. I clipped in footage of my first Unity prototype, a blocky cube walking through a shadow corridor. It looked terrible. That was the point. I wanted the world to see how ugly genius begins. Then I cut to Nova's clip. The one where he laughed at the lighthouse, side by side with my early shader scribbles. A match so clean it didn't need commentary. Pixel jumped onto my desk mid-recording, tail across the keyboard. I left it in. People like cats. People also like authenticity. And right now, I needed both. By the time I wrapped the first episode, it was 4 a.m. My throat was raw, but my chest felt lighter. I exported, uploaded, scheduled. Title: Building Chiaroscuro. Episode 1, Light Walk. Thumbnail: my ugly sketch next to the polished screenshot. No clickbait, no emojis, just proof. I hit public at 7:03 a.m. Then I waited. At 8:30, my Discord pinged. One of my old testers. Indigo, your video is chef's kiss. I'm sharing it everywhere. You got this. By noon, the video had 12,000 views. Not viral, not dead either. But the comments. Oh, the comments. Wait, you're the dev? Holy crap, this is better than any exposé. Nova always says support devs, but then he hides them. Shady if. These receipts, though? I felt my pulse in my ears, but for once it wasn't panic. It was momentum. At 1:14 p.m., Nova went live again. I knew because Twitter lit up like fireworks. I pulled up his stream. He was in full damage control mode, hoodie half-zipped, smile turned down a notch like he was performing contrition. Guys, listen, he said, palms up. I didn't steal anything. I found the build, like I said. But hey, props to the actual dev. Shout out to Indigo Park. Apparently she's making a devlog series. Check it out if you want the technical stuff. I'll keep covering the fun side. The chat split in half. Half defended him, half dragged him. Some people called me a clout chaser. Others called him a parasite. It was chaos, but at least my name was finally in their mouths. Then the DM came, from Owl Terminus again. You posted episode 1. Good. If you want to burn him down completely, wait until you drop the deck. I stared at the message. The deck. The co-announced PDF sitting on that USB, the one Nova's team built to make me a prop in their show. If I dropped it now, it would be a nuke. But nukes kill trust as fast as enemies. I typed back, not yet. One step at a time. They replied with a single owl emoji. Cryptic. Comforting. In its own weird way. Episode 2. Shadows that remember. I walked through the shadow memory mechanic, how I coded the silhouettes, how many nights I cried over broken depth buffers. I even showed the late-night time-lapse, me in pajamas, head on desk, pixel licking my hand until I sat up again. I paired that with chat logs from my tester Discord. Remember when the shadow bleed bug made everything look like lava? Here's the fix. Receipts on receipts. When I uploaded, I ended it with this line. Every shadow has a source. Every lie has a counterlight. Cheesy? Yes. But comments ate it up. By the end of day 3, I had 60,000 subscribers. Small compared to Nova's empire. But they were my people. They believed me. They wanted me to win. And that's when the first email came from a journalist who mattered. Subject line: TechCrunch wants to feature you. Body: we've seen the devlog. We'd like to run a piece on indie devs reclaiming their stories. Are you available for an interview? I laughed. Loud. Ugly. The kind of laugh you can only do after someone's tried to erase you, and the eraser snapped in half. But not everything was a victory lap. 2 nights later, I woke up at 3:12 a.m. to a Discord ping storm. Someone had doxed me. Address, phone, family information. My Patreon leaked. I sat in the dark, cold sweat clinging, scrolling through messages calling me a liar, a witch, a thief. Accusing me of framing Nova for attention. Threats with too many exclamation marks. Pixel curled up by my ribs, purring like static, the only sound keeping me from spiraling. I almost quit then. Almost pulled every video down, ghosted the internet, and let them crown Nova King of Stolen Kingdoms. But then another message pinged from a random fan with no profile picture. Indigo, don't stop. We need you. You're showing us how much work actually goes into these games. You're making me want to build my own. I exhaled. That's the thing about revenge. You think it's about tearing someone else down. But sometimes, it's about building yourself taller than they ever imagined. The next morning, I checked my inbox again. Another email. This time from someone I didn't expect. Nova's manager. Indigo. Nova would love to bury the hatchet. Private meeting? We can discuss revenue share, brand alignment, future collabs. Collab. Brand alignment. Like I was a marketing bullet point. Not a human who had poured 2 years into pixels and pain. I read it twice, then a third time. Then I smiled, sharp and tired, because this was it. Proof that I had leverage, enough leverage to make them sweat. And if they thought I was going to fold into their little empire, they hadn't been watching my series closely enough. I opened OBS, Episode 3, working title, The Deck. But I didn't hit record yet, because I knew dropping the deck meant war, and wars always cost more than you plan for. Pixel meowed, impatient, like he already knew which way I'd choose. The USB sat on my desk like a loaded weapon. Matte black. Silver finch. My own symbol thrown back at me. Every time I brushed against it, I felt my pulse climb. Dropping the co-announced deck would be a clean kill. Proof Nova and his handlers planned to make me a footnote in my own story. Proof they knew and still pushed the lie. But once you scorch earth, there's no planting anything back in it. I chewed the inside of my cheek, scrolling through comments on episode 2. Fans begging for more, developers DMing me their own horror stories, publishers stealing mechanics, influencers monetizing prototypes, studios erasing interns. My inbox had turned into a confession booth. And all I could think was, if I drop the deck, I'm not just avenging myself. I'm lighting the whole booth on fire. At 10:47 a.m., another email hit. Subject, partnership opportunity. Body, Indigo. We represent Streamline Studios. We'd like to fund Chiaroscuro for console release. We believe your devlog strategy is brilliant. Fans are deeply engaged. Let's talk. My mouth went dry. A real studio. Real money. Real distribution. But only if I played this smart. And smart doesn't mean impulsive. I opened OBS. New project file, EP03_Shadow Truth. Camera on. The red light blinked alive. My name is Indigo Park. And today, I want to show you something different. I lifted the USB into frame. This came to me anonymously. And what's inside? Well, let's just say it explains how certain people discover indie games. I dragged the Curators United Discord logs onto the screen. Muted usernames, highlighted lines. Enough to sting, not enough to sue me for libel. One clip of Nova's voice. If they come forward after we bless them, they'll kiss the ring. I froze the waveform mid-sentence. You can decide for yourself what that means. Then I cut away. Didn't show the deck. Not yet. Episode 4, we'll go deeper, I promised. Voice low, steady. But for now, just remember, behind every so-called discovery, there's a source. And that source is usually a person who bled for it. When I uploaded, the internet detonated. Reddit threads, reaction channels dissecting every frame, tweets with thousands of retweets. Indigo just pulled receipts on Nova. This is wild. Half the comments were with me. The other half demanded more. Drop the full deck. Stop teasing. Nuke him already. She's milking this for clout. I didn't sleep that night. Too wired, too watched. The next morning, a knock rattled my door. Through the peephole, a man in a blazer, holding a business card between 2 fingers like an olive branch. When I cracked the door, he smiled like a politician. Miss Park? I'm representing Mr. Blake. He'd like this situation to de-escalate. May we talk? I didn't let him in. But I let him speak. His pitch was smooth, rehearsed. Nova wanted to issue a public apology. He'd clarify that I was the creator. In return, I'd stop posting videos with out-of-context materials. We'd present a united front at the expo. I almost laughed in his face. "You stole my voice," I said, gripping the door frame. "You don't get to rent it back to me." His smile didn't break, but his eyes narrowed a millimeter. "Careful, Ms. Park. Audiences can be fickle." Then he slid his card under the door and left. That night, I opened Discord. Owl Terminus was online. "I had a visitor today," I typed. "Nova's people want a truce." They replied instantly. "Truce means they're scared. Push harder." I hesitated. Dropping the deck might kill my game. Studios won't touch me if I look radioactive. 3 dots blinked, then stopped. Finally, "You're not radioactive. You're a lighthouse. They're afraid of what you'll reveal. Shine brighter." I leaned back, staring at the words. A lighthouse. My game's metaphor, thrown back at me by a stranger. By dawn, episode 3 had 1 million views. My sub count broke 200,000. Nova's apology post went up. A Notes app screenshot about miscommunication and respect for creators. Too little, too late. His comment section was already full of pitchforks and popcorn. And then, the email that changed everything. From press@indieexpo.org. Subject: Panel invitation. Authenticity in indie development. Body: Indigo, we'd love for you to speak on our Saturday keynote. The community wants to hear from you directly. My heart stuttered. Me. On a stage. Expo lights. Hundreds of faces. Thousands online. The very stage where Nova had planned to steal my crown. I closed my eyes and whispered to Pixel, "Okay, I'll give them a show." But here's the thing about planning revenge. It doesn't stay clean. By Friday, someone leaked my Patreon logs, private sketches, half-baked mechanics, fans arguing in my comments. She's exploiting sympathy. Nova's defenders pushing hashtags to drown me out, and buried in the noise. One DM that froze me to the bone. From an account I didn't recognize. Message: "They know about your sister. Stop now." My cursor hovered, shaking, because that meant they'd dug deeper than just me. And suddenly, revenge didn't feel like a game anymore. The DM about my sister sat on my screen like a stain I couldn't scrub off. Nobody knew about her. Not really. Lila had left Austin years ago, moved to Portland to teach ceramics, and kept her circle small. She wasn't public. She wasn't part of this fight. And yet, someone had found her. I stared at the message. "They know about your sister. Stop now." My first thought wasn't anger. It was guilt. I'd dragged her into my storm without her consent. Pixel meowed at my ankle like he knew I was spiraling. I called Lila immediately. She answered on the third ring, her voice warm, confused. "Indy? It's midnight. What's wrong? Did anyone contact you? Online? Weird messages?" She hesitated. A guy emailed me yesterday asking if I was related to Indigo Park. Said he was a journalist, but... Indy, I didn't answer. Why? My throat tightened. They're digging. Trying to scare me into silence. Her breath caught. Indigo. This isn't just the internet anymore. This is dangerous. I pressed my palm to my forehead, grounding myself. I know. But if I stop, they win. There was silence. Then she sighed. You always were stubborn. Just promise me you'll be careful. Don't let revenge make you reckless. I promise, I said. But I didn't mean it. Not really. By morning, episode 3 had crossed 2.3 million views. #chiaroscuro trended. So did #Novagate. The expo buzzed with it. Screenshots of my devlogs plastered across forums, journalists speculating if I'd hijack Nova's keynote. And then, an email from the expo organizers themselves. Subject: Urgent, panel security body. Indigo, given recent online escalations, will be assigning additional staff to your keynote panel. Please arrive 2 hours early for briefing. I laughed, but it came out more like a choke. Security, for me, I was just a developer. But now I was also a story. I sat down to record episode 4. This one had to land. I titled it, Every Deck Has a Dealer. I pulled the PDF into frame, blurred, redacted, but undeniable. Slides with phrases like ghost dev narrative and curated discovery pipeline. A whole strategy built on erasing people like me, slotting influencers in as heroes. My narration came out steady, but my hands were shaking. This isn't just about me, I told the camera. This is how indie creators get stolen, silenced, and spun. If you've ever wondered why the dev's name comes last in the headline, this is why. I let the words hang in the silence. Then I ended with, I won't be ghosted again. And neither should you. The video went nuclear. Reaction channels replayed it frame by frame. Lawyers on Twitter debated NDAS, intellectual property rights, digital theft, and fans. Oh, the fans. They flooded Nova's socials with owl emojis. They clipped my phrase, I won't be ghosted again, and turned it into a rallying cry. Even indie devs bigger than me started retweeting, adding their own horror stories. It wasn't just my fight anymore. It was a movement. But movements attract enemies. At 2 a.m., my internet cut out mid-upload. Router fried, just like that. When I checked the logs, there'd been a brute force attempt on my GitHub an hour earlier. Failed, but close. I backed everything up to 3 external drives, one hidden under my sink. Because paranoia stops being paranoia once someone actually comes for you. By Friday, 2 days before the expo, Nova posted his counterpunch. A slickly produced video, perfect lighting, carefully worded. I've always supported indie devs, he said, solemn. I regret how this situation escalated, but I never stole anything. Miscommunication happened, yes, but Indigo's making this personal. Please don't harass me or my team. It was polished, it was practiced, and it was full of holes. The top comment said it all. Funny how you only found religion after Indigo dropped the deck. Saturday morning, Expo Day. I stood backstage, badge lanyard heavy around my neck, palms damp. Security guards hovered by the curtains, earbuds in, eyes scanning. Pixel's picture was my phone wallpaper, staring at me like he believed in me more than I did. Owl Terminus had messaged one last time that morning. Lighthouses aren't built to hide. They're built to be seen. I inhaled, exhaled. And when they called my name, I stepped onto the stage. The lights blinded me. The crowd roared. I gripped the mic, pulse hammering. My name is Indigo Park, I said. And this is my story. The room went silent, waiting. But before I could launch into my talk, the giant expo screen behind me flickered, then glitched, then filled with Nova's face. The giant expo screen pulsed with static, then snapped into focus. Nova's face filled the stage backdrop, smiling, confident, perfectly lit. The crowd gasped. Some clapped automatically, others booed. I froze mid-sentence, mic in hand. Hey everyone, Nova's voice boomed, larger than life. Sorry I couldn't be there in person, but I wanted to clear the air. My pulse thudded in my ears. This wasn't scheduled. This wasn't in the program. Someone had hijacked the feed. Security scrambled, whispering into radios, but Nova kept talking, smooth as silk. Indigo Park is a talented developer, no question, but she's taken things too far. Editing logs, twisting receipts, weaponizing her audience. This isn't justice, it's harassment. The crowd murmured, confusion rippling like a wave. On the front row, I saw journalists raise their phones, recording every second. My fingers clenched the mic. He wasn't just defending himself, he was rewriting the story in real time. Then his presentation shifted. Clips of my videos played behind him, cut, spliced, stripped of context. Me whispering, "Receipts don't lie," but replayed after he called me manipulative. Me holding up the USB, but framed as if I was showing stolen material. "See?" Nova said, faux sincere. "She's obsessed with painting me as the villain. But this isn't her fight. It's clout." The audience stirred, restless. Some shouted back. Others nodded. And in that moment, I realized, if I didn't take control now, he'd own the narrative again. I stepped forward, mic raised. "Funny thing about lies," I said, projecting past the roar. "They glitch when you put them under the light." The crowd turned back toward me. I pulled a small remote from my pocket, the one the tech team had given me to advance slides. But instead of my planned presentation, I triggered a backup I'd hidden on the system an hour earlier. The screen behind Nova's hijacked face flickered, then split. On the left, his doctored edits. On the right, the raw, uncut originals. Every splice, every omission, every lie. Gasps tore through the hall. "This is what I uploaded," I said, voice steady now. "And this is how he twisted it." The feed stuttered. Nova's face glitched. His smile froze, pixelated, then cut out completely. Silence, then cheers. The tech crew restored my control of the screen. I clicked to my first real slide, my messy lighthouse sketch, dated 2 years ago. "This," I said, "is where chiaroscuro began. Not in a leaked build, not in a curated stream. Here, in my notebook, in my hands." The crowd erupted again, this time in applause that hit me like a tidal wave. But as I moved into my talk, showing proof, showing the devlog clips, I noticed something unsettling. In the far back row, a group of people stood, arms folded, not clapping. All wearing the same neon lanyards, Curators United, the very Discord crew from the USB files, the ones who fed Nova my build. One of them caught my eye, tilted their head, and smiled. After the panel, backstage was chaos. Journalists swarmed, shoving recorders in my face. Fans handed me notebooks to sign. Security hustled me toward the green room, muttering about threat assessments. But all I could think about was that smile, that silent warning, "We're not done." Later that night, exhausted, I checked my DMs. A new message from owl_terminus. "You handled the stage. Good. But they're not backing down. Next move. They'll try to bury you legally." Attached, a screenshot, a leaked draft lawsuit. Nova's team accusing me of defamation, fraud, and breach of professional conduct. My stomach dropped. This wasn't just reputation anymore. This was survival. Pixel headbutted my elbow, purring like nothing had changed. But everything had. I whispered to him, to myself, to the walls closing in. If they want war in the courts, fine. Then I'll give them something they can't spin. I opened a new OBS file. Title, Episode 5, Shadow War. Because this wasn't just about proving I made a game. It was about proving I wasn't afraid anymore. And fear, once it burns off, leaves something sharper. Resolve. The leaked lawsuit draft sat open on my screen, glowing like a neon threat. Defamation, fraud, breach of conduct. Big words meant to scare small creators into silence. And it was working. My hands were shaking so hard I almost dropped my mouse. But fear only lasts until anger shows up. And anger had been living rent-free in me for weeks. I started episode 5 with no script, no polish, just raw truth. "Nova's team wants to sue me," I said straight into the camera. They think paperwork and power will erase what I've shown you. But you can't erase reality. You can't erase code. You can't erase proof. I pulled up Git commits, full commit hashes, date-stamped screenshots, videos of me debugging live from 2 years ago. Uncut, unglamorous, undeniable. Every line of this is mine. Every shadow, every glitch, every breakthrough. So if they want to take me to court, fine. I'll bring the receipts. And the receipts will win. My voice cracked, but I didn't cut it. Because cracks are where the light gets in. When I uploaded it, my community detonated. #receipts, will win trended by morning. Other indie devs posted their own commit logs, shader snippets, ugly prototypes. It wasn't just solidarity. It was defiance. The narrative had shifted again. It wasn't just Indigo versus Nova. It was every erased creator versus the machine. But Nova's crew fought back. A week later, glossy YouTube ads appeared before random videos. Gaming should unite, not divide. Don't let misinformation win. Produced by Curators United. My name wasn't mentioned, but it didn't need to be. The message was clear. I was the misinformation. I was the enemy. Then came the leak. Someone posted a clip on Twitter. Me, crying on the floor in one of my time-lapse videos, head buried in my arms, pixel pawing at me. Ripped from months of footage I'd never shared. Captioned, "This is who you're trusting? A mess? LOL." It spread like wildfire. Memes, mockery. My pain is content. For the first time since this started, I almost broke. I shut the blinds, turned off my phone, curled on the couch with pixel pressed to my chest. Maybe they're right, I whispered. Maybe I'm not built for this. But then my phone buzzed anyway, lighting up in the dark. A DM from Lila. She'd seen the clip. Her message: "You don't have to be polished to be powerful. You just have to keep standing. You already won once. Do it again." I cried harder, but this time it wasn't despair. It was fuel. The next morning, I hit record again. I titled the video, "Yes, that was me." I played the leaked clip. Didn't hide it, didn't dodge. "That's me," I said. Tired. Burned out. Crying on the floor while my cat comforted me. Because making something alone is hard. Because being erased hurts. And if that makes me weak to you, fine. But weakness isn't shame. It's proof I kept going anyway. I ended with, "So, if you want polished lies, go back to Nova. If you want real stories, stay." It was the most vulnerable video I'd ever made, and it exploded. Hundreds of thousands of comments. This hit me in the chest. I've been that person on the floor. She turned her worst moment into power. Other creators stitched it, showing their own ugly behind the scenes. It became a movement inside a movement. Number sign, keep going, trended for days. And suddenly, Nova's glossy ads looked plastic next to my rawness. But victories always invite retaliation. At 2 a.m., I got another DM from owl_terminus. This one just said, "They're not done. Watch your step at the Expo finals. Curators play dirty when they're cornered." And attached was a single image, a screenshot of my Expo schedule, circled in red. Sunday, main stage, closing panel. I stared at it, heart pounding, because that was 2 days away. And if they were planning something, I'd be walking straight into their trap. Sunday came faster than my nerves could catch up. The closing panel, the biggest stage of the expo. Hundreds in the audience, thousands watching the live stream. And somewhere in that crowd, the Curators United crew, waiting. My badge felt heavier than usual as I walked backstage. Pixel's picture glowed on my phone lock screen like a talisman. I whispered to it, "We'll get through this." Security was thicker this time. 2 guards flanking the stage entrance, scanning IDs, patting down bags. One of them leaned close and murmured, "We've had chatter about disruptions. Stay calm, stay on script. We've got you. Stay calm, stay on script." If only he knew I hadn't had a script in weeks. The panel started smooth enough. 3 other indie devs beside me talking about funding, creativity, burnout. I almost let myself relax. Almost forgot the weight of what Owl Terminus had warned me. Then it happened. The screen behind us glitched. Not a normal tech hiccup. A deliberate hijack just like before. A Discord window appeared. Curators united. Scrolling live messages. She fakes logs. Devlog receipts are doctored. Nova's the real innovator. Indigo just rides his wave. The audience gasped. Phones whipped out. I felt my stomach drop. This was their plan. To smear me on the biggest stage of all. The moderator froze, stammering. Tech crew scrambled to kill the feed, but the messages kept pouring. And then, like salt in a wound, a clip played. Nova's voice. She's not a dev. She's an actress with a laptop. The crowd erupted in shouts. Some booed. Others whispered. The entire stage tilted under me. My fight or flight screamed, "Run!" But I didn't. Instead, I stood. I raised the mic and said, clear enough to cut through the chaos, "You want to see what real looks like? Fine, watch this." I pulled my laptop from my bag, flipped it open, and hit record on the projector feed. My screen lit up with my IDE code, shader graphs, commit history. "This is live," I said, fingers flying. I wrote a quick shader from scratch, sloppy, but functional. Within 2 minutes, the screen behind me glowed with a ripple effect across the demo model. Gasps turned into applause. "This," I said, pointing at the code, "is me. Not an actress, not a ghost, a developer. The one who built chiaroscuro. Line by line." The Discord hijack tried one last message, fake, staged. But the audience laughed it down. Because they'd seen me build it, live, unedited. Security finally killed the feed. The curator's window vanished. And when I looked out into the crowd, I saw phones lifted high, not to mock me, but to cheer. Hashtags were already being typed. Hashtag LiveDev. Receipts in real time. Hashtag Indigo built this. But just as relief started to wash over me, something else happened. From the back row, someone stood up. A man in a black hoodie. He shouted, "Indigo Park is a fraud." Security moved instantly. They pulled him out, but not before I saw the badge around his neck. Curators United. The room buzzed with unease. This wasn't just online harassment anymore. This was physical, present, dangerous. After the panel, in the green room, my hands wouldn't stop shaking. I barely noticed the crowd of journalists until one asked, "Indigo, after this attack, will you keep fighting? Or do you step back?" Step back? After everything? I almost laughed. But then my phone buzzed. A new DM from Owl_Terminus. This time, only 3 words. "Final move coming." I stared at it, a chill crawling up my spine. Because if this was their final move, I had no idea how far they'd go. Back at my apartment, I couldn't stop pacing. The words replayed in my head. Final move, coming. Pixel trailed me like a shadow, tail flicking, meowing when I forgot to breathe. I checked every lock twice, closed my curtains, backed up my drives again. But no amount of backups could prepare me for what came next. At 11:42 p.m., my phone buzzed. A new video had just gone live on Nova's channel. Title: The Truth About Indigo Park. Thumbnail: my face, caught mid-blink, unflattering, overlaid with bold red text, "Fake." My stomach twisted. This was it, their final move. I clicked. Nova's face appeared, calm, collected, perfectly lit. "I've stayed quiet too long," he began. "I didn't want to escalate. But Indigo Park has crossed the line. She doctored logs, staged live code, and manipulated you. We have proof. The screen cut to a montage, snippets of my devlogs, but altered, timestamps blurred, code lines rearranged. It looked like I'd faked things, if you didn't know what you were seeing. Then came the gut punch. A clip of me on stage yesterday, hands shaking as I typed live. Overlay text, pre-scripted, planted. Gasps from his live chat scrolled across the screen. She's a fraud. Knew it. Nova always tells the truth. I slammed my laptop shut before the bile in my throat won. My phone buzzed again. This time, hundreds of notifications, mentions, threats, DMS. The smear campaign was working. Even some of my new fans were doubting. Tweets like, "Wait, is this real? Did Indigo fake it?" The kind of doubt that spreads faster than truth. I sank into the couch, clutching Pixel. For the first time, I wondered if they might actually win. Then my email pinged. Subject line, they doctored the doctored. From owl_terminus. Inside, a folder link. Dozens of raw screen recordings. Not mine, theirs. Clips of Curators United editing my videos. Chat logs. Blur the commit ID, make it look looped. Splice her audio, make it sound staged. Push this tonight, hit before she can counter. And at the end, an uncut recording of Nova rehearsing his video, retaking lines until his calm truth sounded perfect. Proof. Not just of my innocence, of their entire smear campaign. I stared at the files, trembling. This was it. The counter to their final move. But if I dropped it, it wouldn't just end Nova. It would expose everyone in Curators United, an entire network of influencers, sponsors, maybe even studios. And people like that don't go quietly. I whispered to Pixel, if I do this, I'm burning the whole house down. He just blinked, like, then burn it. I opened OBS, new file, EP08_finale. I hit record. This is the last video, I said, voice steady. They called me fake. They called me a fraud. But tonight, you'll see who's really been lying. I dragged the raw Curators recordings onto the screen. One by one, I showed their edits. The blurred commit IDs, the spliced audio, the staged rehearsals. And finally, I played Nova's uncut rehearsal file. Him stumbling, cursing, restarting until he nailed his performance. This, I said, is the truth behind the truth. When I hit upload, my hands shook. Not from fear, from adrenaline. The video processed, published, and within an hour, it was everywhere. Reddit, Twitter, TikTok. Clips of Nova swearing between takes went viral. The hashtag flipped, NovaFake. Sponsors started pulling out. Journalists DM'd me for interviews. Fans who doubted me came crawling back. For the first time in weeks, I felt something close to peace. But peace never lasts. At 3 a.m., my phone buzzed again. A new DM from an unknown account. No words, just a single image. My apartment building, taken from across the street. The photo on my phone made my blood run cold. My apartment building, shot from across the street. Taken at night. My blinds shut. No caption. No threat spelled out. But the message was clear. We see you. Pixel stirred in my lap, ears twitching. I pulled him closer, whispering, "We're okay. We're okay." But my own voice sounded hollow. I didn't sleep. I sat in the dark, laptop open, watching the video analytics climb. Millions of views, thousands of comments, headlines already rolling out. Indie dev exposes influencer network. Nova fake fallout hits sponsors. Indigo Parks receipts spark industry reckoning. On the surface, I was winning, but in the shadows, someone was outside, watching. At dawn, I called Lila. She answered groggy. Indy, what's wrong? I told her about the photo. She was silent for a moment, then said, "Call the police." I did, I admitted. They said unless someone tries to get in, there's nothing they can do. Her voice sharpened. Then leave. Come here. Get out of Austin for a while. I wanted to. God, I wanted to. But I shook my head, even though she couldn't see me. I can't. If I disappear now, they'll win by default. I have to finish this. Indigo. She sighed. You're my sister. Not just a symbol. Don't forget that. By noon, the internet was on fire. Nova hadn't posted since my exposé. His silence was louder than anything he could have said. Sponsors dropped him in real time. Curators United's Discord was leaked in full, splattered across forums. Half the members deleted their accounts. The other half tried to claim they were just lurkers. It was crumbling. And yet, that photo haunted me. Because smearing me online was one thing. But showing up in person? That was escalation. At 5 p.m., I heard a knock on my door. 3 short raps. I froze. Pixel hissed, tail puffed. I crept to the peephole. No one. Just an envelope on the mat. I waited. 10 minutes. Then, heart pounding, I opened the door and snatched it inside. Inside, a single sheet of paper. Printed words. Lighthouses burn out too. My hands shook so hard I nearly tore the paper in half. This wasn't just intimidation. It was a promise. I called Expo Security, told them everything. They offered to send someone to patrol the block. It wasn't much, but it was something. Then I sat down at my desk, staring at the camera on my laptop. If they wanted to scare me into silence, I'd give them the opposite. I hit record. This isn't just about games anymore, I said. It's about creators being hunted down for daring to stand up. For telling the truth. For refusing to be erased. I held up the paper, let the words show on camera. Lighthouses burn out too. That's what they left at my door. But here's the thing. Lighthouses don't burn. They shine. And the darker it gets, the brighter they have to be. My voice cracked. I didn't care. I leaned forward, eyes locked on the lens. I won't burn out. Not now. Not ever. When I uploaded it, the internet surged again. # lighthouses don't burn trended within hours. Artists drew fan art of lighthouses glowing against storms. Fans spammed owl emojis under every curator's post they could find. And me? For the first time, I realized this wasn't just revenge anymore. It was resistance. But later that night, just as I started to believe I might be safe, my phone buzzed again. A video file. No sender. I opened it. Grainy footage. Me, sitting at my desk, recording the video I'd just posted. Filmed from outside my window. Pixel's reflection in the glass. My face lit by my own screen. The angle was too perfect. They weren't across the street anymore. They were right outside my apartment.